I'm going to ask you right out straight. Have you spent decades collecting stuff that you think you're just going to hand down um, and pass on that legacy in hopes that your kids, your grandkids, relatives have those same passions that you had and will actually like, you know, well, I'm afraid your moment might be over. All right. Because this story is all about a legacy you can touch. And I'm going to tell you a story that's going to get your motor running to get out there and start creating your legacy because it is waiting. That canvas is blank and it is waiting for you to show up. So hang in there with me and we'll get this story started. My dad was an avid hobbyist. Um, so much so that my parents actually had an agreement that he could do anything he wanted, um, but he had to make sure he could cover the family in addition to covering the cost of a hobby because hobbies are immensely expensive, as we know. Um, so he did it. He went out and got gig work, sometimes a lot of gig work, to cover what he wanted to do. I mean, he liked photography. That's very expensive. He panned for gold, right? I mean, metal detecting. He loved fishing. In fact, that drawing that I did behind me is my dad fly fishing. Um, and his passion was semi-pro archery. And this is really where the story begins because he made sure that any hobby he took on, he shared that skill set and that experience with his five children. So in his quest of the semi-pro archery, we spent our summers at a camping resort where the tournaments were actually being held. Fabulous, fabulous experience. I was 10 at the time. Our last tournament happened together down there in Connecticut, um, and took a lot of memories that I still cherish today. Um, but what happened was he made sure all five of us children had a bow, and we could participate while we were there in the youth groups and all that. Um, but one really cool thing was he taught himself how to make the arrows, how to work the feathering and all that, and make the arrows. And he would make on our individual birthdays, he would make the birthday person 12 new arrows to put in their quiver. And I can still smell those feathers burning when he was doing that process. So that's quite a wonderful memory if you can smell something from 4 decades ago. Um, so the birthday person gets to go first after they're presented with the quiver of new arrows. And it was my 10th birthday. So I'm first in line. I take my first shot and I got a bullseye. And my dad was so happy. He was beaming. I was ecstatic, right? Kind of like a show off ecstatic, if you will. Um, and then my youngest of the two brothers, he stepped up behind me and he took his shot. And he Robin Hood my arrow. He Robin Hood my arrow. So, of course, I was shocked, followed by devastation because he just wrecked my brand new arrow, and now my quiver had 11. And I looked over at my dad, who was absolutely beaming from head to, I mean, he just puffed with pride. All right. So, um, kind of let that go, and everybody else took their shots, and we had a good afternoon on my birthday. Um, but there's another piece of this story that I think it's important to know, um, related to how we build our legacies and how we create things that are touchable legacies. Well, sadly, my dad passed. And in the process of passing, you have the process of cleaning. And my mom was in the garage cleaning his workbench, his tools, and all that. And then she noticed above the window, it looked like a curtain rod, but she wasn't sure. So she got a ladder and went up there. And she couldn't believe what she found. And when she told me, my heart sank because what she found was the Robin Hood arrow. Um, to think of my 10th birthday, that pride of that moment that that man carried quietly through decades, right? Um, all through those family journeys. Um, there was 4 moves, I believe, since that 10th birthday, and that arrow was never out of his sight in all 4 of those moves, which is a quest in itself, right? Um, so from Connecticut returning home, and then him working through his careers and those moves, he kept track of that arrow. This meant so much to him, and to him, that was not only pride of what he taught his children, the passions that he passed on. It was he had something touchable that he was going to leave us that nobody knew that he even had. And I'm sure that moment, if he could have been watching, he would have been all puffed up and beaming just as he did on that day on my 10th birthday. Um, to think of those hobbies and those lessons shared, he would have been very proud. So I think of myself at 10. That moment had a whole different meaning to me at 10 years old. And I had gave it no thought and figured this just kind of went in the trash, right? And finding this 50 years later, my dad was able to reshare this experience with us and ponder all those lessons that he taught us. Um, I now am in my silver years, and I think this is his final lesson to me. That all these cherished moments that we've been given through life, as even the small ones, they're ours to savor and they're ours to share, right? Because if he hadn't have saved that arrow, that Robin Hood arrow, I should say, um, we wouldn't have experienced this. I wouldn't have experienced that last lesson. He left us a legacy. I hope in sharing this family story with you on my 10th birthday that you have a deeper connection to what our experiences are and how they become legacy and how profound that can be in the end, just as it was for me 50 years later to relive that moment. If you enjoyed this and just even got a nugget of something you can pass forward yourself, please support me and hit all those buttons. I truly appreciate you. This is all about is sharing our experiences and writing it down, drawing it out, having something to touch, versus just to look at, or a collection of things. It's that touchable legacy. So get out there and get yours started. And until the next one, stay positive and be happy.